Hello, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thank you for joining us today. We appreciate having you and, of course, your time. We will make this as fun and entertaining as possible, but hey, we're going to get to brass tacks and share some news with you all and answer some of your great questions. And so I want to say, first of all, welcome. Again, thank you. This is our fourth week in a row we've been doing webinars, because we really want to make sure we're answering those questions you have and connecting with you and making sure the information is as clear as possible. And the good news is we've had some really good results over the last few weeks in terms of sharing that. So we are excited for that. And so we're going to give it just a couple minutes for people to join in. We know it takes a little bit of time for that to happen. And so let's see. Oh, yeah, let's first start. I'm not sure what that question was because I was distracted with my other screen, but let's say spring break. What plans you got? Spring break's coming up. For those of you that have some plans, I know things are starting to open back up again ever so slowly across the country. Would love to hear what your plans are. If you got anything fun, exciting, and can I come with you? Because I could use a trip outside of this house. I got to be honest with you. It's getting kind of boring. My wife is so sick of me. Barbara, greetings from Florida. Hello and welcome. Thanks for joining in. I'm assuming that's Long Island, not Long Island, New York, Long Island, Strong Island. We love it. Valerie, hello again from Kenmore. Thanks for joining us again, Valerie. Wendy from New Hampshire. Love your shirt. So Wendy, my dad was born, or actually he was born in Hartford, but he was raised in Hampton, New Hampshire. So I've spent a little bit of time there, and I've had the lovely pleasure of going to Lake Winnipesaukee. Sharon, just back from Jamaica. Oh, yeah, thanks for the invite, Sharon. Really appreciate that. Okay, Connie, beautiful and open in Florida. Love to hear it. Hope you're doing well, Connie. Tracy's aloha from Hawaii. Can't fly anywhere, but yeah, but why? I know you got island fever, perhaps, but you don't need to leave, right? You're good. Tracy's good. You don't need to go anywhere. Just enjoy your backyard and the paradise that you live in. Sandra from Olympia, Washington. Spring break motorhome road trip. That's exciting. So good for you. Motorhome sounds like a lot of work. I'm not sure I could do that. Janet, hi from Yucky, Jersey. I wasn't going to comment on New Jersey. Remember that SNL skit where the guy would play the governor? New Jersey. I always cracked up every time that happened. Not that I want to make fun of New Jersey, even though I do all the time. Deborah, just back from Cancun, fully vaccinated. Good for you, Deborah. Good for you. Boy, we're going to talk about vaccines today, and the rollout is continuing to be making good progress here in the States. Bernadette, what happened to your puppet on the shelf? I told him to be ready for this game time, like big pep talk last night. He was overserved last evening yet again, and so he is sleeping it off. He needs someone to try and talk a little quietly so that we don't disrupt his little nap time. He's like, worse than my dog. Snaps all the time. Becky, I need a cruise soon. My husband needs to be around this much. Yeah, tell me about it. Speaking of my dog, by the way, I've got the frame pictures behind me as I've talked to you before. I've got Gavin McLeod. I've got my dad back in the Navy days, and I took this off because I wanted to show you all. This is my dog Murphy, and yes, I have a framed photograph of my dog Murphy, who was my favorite son. I normally have it back there, but I thought I'd bring him front and center so you could see him. Okay. Brenda from Verona, Wisconsin, just returned from Las Vegas. What happens in Vegas, Brenda, stays in Vegas. All right, so let's get going with the show. We're a few minutes in. Thanks for entertaining me there. We've got our wonderful presentation. I want to dive right in. And of course, you know me. You're sick of me. Yeah, John, here's your pictures of you and your lovely family. That's great. But thankfully, I'm joined yet again by my co-host extraordinaire, Marsha Patrick. Marsha, welcome. You are muted, but welcome. How many times a day do we say you're muted? I mean, it's just constant.
Have you seen the shirt? I'm going to buy one. It's like, you're on mute 2020.
That's perfect. Picture of Marsha and her lovely family. Great to have you with us, Marsha. And nothing to do with cruise. I just wanted to give a shout out, and I'm going to try and do this without crying. Dick Hoyt was an amazing man whose son had some disability issues. And in 1977, they decided at the son's behest to run a 5-mile race in honor of a local kid who had been paralyzed in an accident. And so they did this 5-mile race. They finished second to last. So they didn't do very well because Dick Hoyt was not a great runner. That wasn't his thing. And his son Rick loved it so much. It's when he just felt like he was flying. And so they started doing races. And when I say started doing races, I mean, this is incredible. Let me read you some stats. They ran the Boston Marathon for the first time in 1980. They completed 32 Boston Marathons together with the father pushing Rick. But it didn't stop there. They did, let me read my notes here. They started doing triathlons as well, which is pretty incredible. They ended up doing 257 triathlons. So
Wow.
Dick would push, he would pull when he was swimming in a floaty thing for the son Rick, and then he would ride a bike and pull his son along. Of those 257 triathlons, 6 of them included the Ironman. They did that World Championship Ironman on the Big Island of Hawaii several times.
Yeah.
Like I said, 32 Boston Marathons. The reason I'm bringing this up is that Dick passed away yesterday, I believe, at the age of 80. You can see on the right is the statue that they created for him in his honor to celebrate the work that he did specific to the Boston Marathon. So what a hero.
Yeah. I learned of him on HBO. Brian Gumbel did a segment on
Yes.
him. Yeah.
Just a legend.
Yeah.
Felicia has seen them run. That's awesome. So
That
I'm
is
a little
awesome.
teary. Awesome. Okay. So with that, I want to say during the last few of these webinars, we've been doing some surveys, and we're going to continue to do that. But we've been saying, what are you learning? How comfortable are you with the information we're presenting? And it's been very helpful, very insightful for us, because that makes sure we can address our issues and make sure we're communicating as clearly as possible. So for the last 2 weeks, on March 4th and March 11th, at the beginning of this webinar, this is what we asked you. Were you an expert? Did you have what you needed, but you had some questions still? Did you need some help? You still had way too many questions. So you can see that most people were not in the expert camp. And then when we finished, and we love the Einstein bobblehead that we created there, Joe, thank you. A good chunk of you either thought you were excellent or very good. And so the improvement we've seen has been wonderful. So we're putting in the comments now, and we're streaming this to both Facebook and to YouTube. Unfortunately, the survey is only available in Facebook. Not that I'm trying to encourage you to go there, but feel free to. But we're going to ask you to please complete the survey again. Based on the pause that we unfortunately had to introduce earlier this week, we want to understand what's your comfort level, how good are you feeling, and then we're going to do one at the very end to kind of measure how well we've done. And just note that Marcia and I both get paid whether based on the results of these surveys. If we don't do well, then we don't get paid. So please.
So no pressure. No pressure.
No pressure. Rich has always turned to the Chernesky bobblehead. He's always by my side, Rich. He gives me good counsel. He is my my number one guy. Okay. So with that, I want to just cover the fact that we had to announce pauses earlier this week on March 16th, and they cover a portion, not all, but a portion of our Alaska Inside Passage sailings on both the Majestic Princess and the Emerald Princess from May 15th through June 27th departures. So we have not canceled the entire season, just those first 6 weeks, basically, right? And so we are still holding out hope. And as you all know, the Inside Passage, here's what we're talking about, the Seattle trip, round trip. It's a great cruise. Man, I wish I was on it. That would be amazing. And the reason why, of course, is that we still have the limitation of access to Canadian ports. They have closed their borders until February of next year based on how the pandemic is going there. And as we learned, we did a quiz last week. People think it's the Jones Act. It's actually the Passenger Vessel Services Act, which governs the transportation of humans from one place to the other. The Jones Act is more about commerce, but everybody thinks it's Jones Act. And it's a lot easier to say than the Passenger Vessel Services Act. So that's why we do that, having to do with our limitations there. And as we know, if to get around the PVSA, the acronym for it, we'd either have to go down to Ensenada or over to Russia, which is a little far away. And given that the CDC guidelines as part of the conditional sail order means you can't have a sailing over 7 days that calls on a U.S. port, this would not work. So that's why we are doing that. And so In addition to the Canadian port closure, we also are still awaiting CDC technical instructions that will define how we return to service. And we expect that this will be a phased approach with some simulation sailings, which will, listen, if we can invite you all to join and test everything out and be part of that audience, then we will certainly do that. We don't even know who's eligible for that and how that will work, how many people. So that's why we haven't gone out and asked you to sign up, but we know there's strong interest. So as soon as we know, we will let you know. But hopefully that's pretty clear in terms of why we are still waiting. But there are ongoing efforts. And so we are continuing our conversation, not just at a brand level, but our corporation and the entire industry is talking with various government officials. As we mentioned last week and the week before, there was bills introduced in both the House and Senate called the Alaska Tourism Recovery Act, focused on Alaska specifically, trying to get temporary relief from the PVSA. The problem with that, though, and a little bit of update, is that as of 2 days ago, according to Cruise Industry News, there is not currently a vote scheduled in the U.S. Senate for the Alaska Tourism Recovery Act. And it was not included in the recent legislation for COVID relief. And so we're in a bit of a holding pattern on that. And hey, call your congressman, call your senator, express your interest no matter where you live and say, let's bring this to a vote, because we all have a vested interest in this. Feel free to do that, as you should always reach out to your elected officials. But with that, with Alaska, we do want to remind you we have some Alaska land-only options where escorted and non-escorted tours with a few of our properties that are up there. It's not the traditional Princess experience in terms of the cruise tour with the Princess trains and the Princess lodges. It's a shared experience between one Princess Lodge, our sister brands lodges, and then a hotel in Anchorage. And so you, as the travel advisor, get commission on this. It's a 10% commission. It's a much higher price point. I will warn you with that, so don't be too sticker shocked when you see it. Go to graylinealaska.com. You can input the details for your clients. You put your IATA number in there. Credit goes back to you. We've got some Q&As there on OneSource. Anything to add there, Marcia? Am I covering this accurately?
You're doing really well.
Thank you.
You get an A.
Because I'll tell you what, if you said I was doing a terrible job, my confidence just goes down from my confidence would go from 100 to 99.5, because I'm usually not lacking.
It's hard to shake you.
Yeah, it's the arrogance, really.
Yeah, and they're calling out on the banner, so we probably got a lot of questions in the comments, and just know that we are going to do Q&A again at the end.
Thank you. Yeah, please. We know you're anxious with questions, but we've gone through and sifted. Thank you for those that submitted questions ahead of time. We had a good number. We had over 100, but in the past we've had close to 600.
Yeah.
And so I will say I take that as a good sign that you are the experts now. You really have learned and are getting comfortable with this information. But we are going to cover your questions at the end, so don't feel like you have to put your questions in right now, because I'm pretty sure we're going to be able to answer them for you later on. Okay, so just a reminder as well, we had last week cancellations that affected our Mediterranean cruises on Enchanted Princess, Caribbean cruises, and the LA-based cruises on the Ruby Princess from May through June as well. So similar to what we announced this week in terms of Seattle, where we're canceling essentially through the end of June, those sailings, the same thing happened last week for those 3 destinations, okay? And just like those, for this pause this week, you have 3 options that we're giving your clients for all bookings, whether they were paid in full or not. And we're going to go through those quickly. But just a reminder, if you don't pick one of the 3 options by April 15th, the choice is going to default to the FCC option. So it's up to you to talk with your clients. But we have the option of booking transfers to those same. So remember, we're talking about the 6 weeks of Inside Passage cruises to Alaska out of Seattle. You can transfer those bookings to the same cruise in 2022. We'll talk about that in some detail. And there is, thankfully, for all of these, there is an equivalent matching cruise, so that's good. You've got the FCC option, which is a 10% bonus of what they, 110% of what they originally paid. And then you've got the refunds. Okay, you can always do that refund if you want. First up, let's talk about transferring the bookings. We're going to price protect that booking at the 2021 price if there's an equivalent cruise available. And like I said, there is for all 6 of these weeks that we're talking about on the 2 ships. You don't need to do anything. No need to cancel and rebook. Just tell us you want to move the booking, and we will take care of that for you. You will then get a new notification that says, here's your new booking. And then if you want to do any changes to it at that point, that's when you do that. But you tell us you want to do it, and we will take care of it for you. And once again, we are doing, I think this was Marsha's idea, we're going to do the +1 or minus voyage. So if that exact date doesn't work for you, like you got something you can't get out of, you maybe do it the week later, the week earlier, you can do that as well, and it will be price protected. Okay. And it takes about 60 days to make the movement over. But I have to tell you, I think it's going to be less than that. We're just giving you that as the worst case scenario. Our team is getting very good at doing this. I'm not sure how easy this grid is to read, but I will tell you that, and this is available on OneSource Cruises, and as well as if we've emailed you because you've had affected clients, you can see the link where it says, as an example, on the very top, Emerald Princess, May 15th. That was the voyage this year. It was a 7-day cruise, E114. That now moves to May 14th in 22, the new voyage number, etc. So all down the list, every voyage has a matchup. The only difference is if you were on Emerald, you can still be on Emerald. If you were on Majestic, you're going to be on the brand new Discovery Princess, which is sister ship to Majestic. So no issue, but you're on a newer ship. So that's kind of cool.
Nice.
Second option. Janice, thank you. This is so fair. Oh, by the way, love the happy St. Patrick's Day for those that celebrated. And that's, I forgot to mention, big St. Patty's Day last night. That's why the puppet is suffering as much as he is. He is definitely Irish through and through. Okay, so then we have the second option is the Future Cruise Credit with the bonus 10%. And again, that is the default option. If you don't tell us by April 15th, we're going to assume that's what your clients want. So if that's what you want, you don't need to do anything. Right. We're going to take care of it for you. But if you want the booking to transfer, you need to let us know. Or if you want this next one, which is the refund, you need to tell us by the 15th. Otherwise, you get the FCC.
Yep.
All right. I think that's pretty clear. You guys are all good on that. You're all experts on that. And I do want to remind you, we listened. You had some great feedback in terms of FCCs from earlier pauses. And so last week we introduced, previously we had a number of FCCs that were due to expire on May 1st of 2022. And our book and sail by date is the same. So we didn't say book by and then sail by. It's just book and sail by. So in theory, you could have booked a week before that and sailed. We've actually extended that now through the end of December. And that will take place. It's ongoing, but we expect to have all of those FCCs updated by the middle of April. Anything I'm forgetting there?
No. Yep. But it'll be done for you, in an automated fashion, so you don't have to call in to request it. And that's for someone who had an FCC with Book with Confidence or an FCC because we paused the voyages. So we're excited about that.
Thank you. Mm-hmm. Okay, next slide up is the reminder that we've got Q&A portion coming up, so don't feel like you have to input your questions now. We're going to get to a lot of those, so thanks so much. Groups. Marsha, you want to cover how we're impacting groups for those that were booked in 21? So on this recent pause, if the travel advisor had their group set up for May or June of 21 doing Seattle Inside Passage, now what happens?
Yep. So we're basically treating the groups the same way that we are the FIT booking. So if one person in that group decides that they want to be moved over to 2022, then we will recreate the group for you in 2022 and move that booking. And if they had money on, then the rates for 2021 are being protected into 2022. So we're excited about that. And then, sometimes there's a question about TCs. And so there weren't any TCs to be earned on 2021 because we didn't get a chance to sail. But whoever moves over and whatever new bookings you get into the 2022 group will have the same earning opportunity for TCs as our standard group program.
Great.
So, and then let's see, we have a note here. It says all bookings paid in full within the group will be treated the same as FIT bookings. So basically just what I said.
Yep.
Everything moves, as long as they request it.
Yeah, you just got to request it. So Taylor, you had put up a question there about FCCs. I wasn't sure if you wanted to cover that now. So Harriet is asking, does all FCC have to remain in individual names? Can they be moved to other guests in the cabin?
Yeah, so FCCs are specifically for the person that actually purchased them. So if an FCC, maybe it's a family going and one person paid, those FCCs are built in each individual person's name, but the person who's paying, if they want those credits back, they can let us know and we can move the credits to them. But traditionally, they stay with the person that the credits were booked for.
Right. Yeah, but if you have any questions, chat us up. We can hopefully do that via chat. Can we do that via chat, Marcia? Can we adjust
can do that via chat, absolutely.
Well, I've just given away a surprise because we're going to talk a little bit about chat, but just as a good tip to save you from calling in, chat us up and we will make that happen for you. Okay, Marcia, thanks for covering that on groups. On commission protection, even though this says it's updated, I don't think this has actually changed. So if you had your bookings that were paid in full for these new pause announcement voyages, and you're going to, let's say, move them into 22. Let's say your client wants to do that. We're protecting that commission. You've already earned that commission. There's no recall going out. The guest then has up to 30 days to decide, you know what, I don't want to do that. I want to get the FCC or I want to get my refund. If they make that decision within 30 days, we're still protecting your commission. If they do it outside of the 30 days, then we will either be recalling commission, because if it's refunded or FCC. If it's FCC, you're going to get that commission the next time they sail. But we just had to draw a line in the sand somewhere. We think that 30 days is fair. So please talk to your clients, make sure they're committed, and shouldn't be a problem.
Yeah,
but
and we're hoping that
those
matching
FCCs are always commissionable. Sorry.
And we're hoping that matching the fare is going to help you be able to keep that booking.
Yeah, that price protection in most cases is going to be a good deal for your clients, and so they're motivated to try and keep it and not have to pay more for that new sailing. So that's one of the, and the work is done because it's automatically done for you. So hopefully that helps. I do want to mention real quick, we are upgrading our phone system. So Lily Tomlin in the operating center, one ringy dingy, two ringy dingy, great skit she used to do. We're actually upgrading to a much more enhanced and robust system, but that means this Saturday, our call center is going to be closed all day on Saturday, but it's going to be reopening on Sunday, March at 8 a.m. Pacific time on March 21st. So just know that Saturday, our call center is closed, and then back come Monday, of course, we resume normal operation. So during that Saturday, oh my goodness, Marcia, what could they do to get support if they have a question that's urgent?
They can chat away. So it's important for Saturday, but it's always an option. And we offer chat 7 days a week, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So those hours are extended past our normal contact center hours. So you can still have an option to talk to someone about what your needs are.
Right.
It's faster, it's more efficient. It is really the way to go so that you don't have to wait on hold if it happens to be a busy day.
Yep. And I thought it'd be clever to do a top 5 list of chat. And there's going to be a quiz at the end, everybody, to make sure you're listening to what we're saying. What are the top 5 things you can do in chat? First of all, you can extend options. You can request to extend that booking deposit date. Second of all, just easy questions about how to use Polar Online, how to update or make changes to the booking, applying FCCs. If you have to change a stateroom, you can do all that in chat. Change and or apply a pause option if you need help with that. Cruise health and cruise with confidence inquiry. So if people have questions about that, we can happy to explain that in any detail that you might have. And then payment, like how much has been made to confirm everything's been done. And if you have any questions on that, okay. Anita, glad to hear that you are enjoying chat. It does save time, right? You can, and we're all into multitasking now. So you can chat here, you can do something else, get back to your Candy Crush game. Anything? Okay, so ready for the quiz? I'm kidding. There's no quiz. We're not going to do a quiz. But just know we do appreciate your support with chat because it saves all of our time. So best sell ever, a reminder. So this is Princess Plus on steroids. All the benefits of Princess Plus, the premier beverage package, the unlimited Wi-Fi with Medallion Net, the best at sea, and the gratuities for our amazing crew. You get that plus stateroom location upgrade and specialty dining, and you've only got 2 weeks left because it expires on March 31, and it's not being extended. So as of April 1, sorry, it's gone. So please take advantage of this now. For we know your clients are interested in booking either late into 21 or 22, and even beyond into 23. Great value, up at least $700 in value on a 7-day cruise when you add all that stuff up. So just wanted to put that plug in there. And as you know, that is all commissionable for you as their travel advisor. And so you've done a great job selling Princess Plus and now Best Sell Ever. So just please take advantage of that. Okay. I like to show this because it's the light coming through, the sun coming through the clouds. We want to just clarify the latest statistics on vaccinations in the US. So as of last week on March 10th, this was the date that we had it from the CDC. In the US, this is just US only, we had delivered 127 million doses of the vaccine had been delivered, with 95 million of them administered. This week, 135 million have been delivered and 109 million have been administered, which is amazing. In terms of the percentage of the total population, we're just doing this week over week comparison just so you can see kind of how the trend line is looking. So as of March 10th, 18.8% of the total US population have at least one dose and 9.9% fully vaccinated. As of this week, the number goes up to 22% have at least one dose and 12% have been fully vaccinated. But then if you look at the population of 18 and older, so as of last week, 24% had one dose, almost 13% were fully vaccinated. And then as of this week, 28.5% 18 and older have at least one dose, with almost 16% fully vaccinated. But wait, there's more. Let's look at the folks who are 65 and up. A lot of those folks we call our amazing guests. And so we're very pleased that as of last week, 61% of them in the US have at least one dose, with 31% fully vaccinated. And now as of this week, 65% of people 65 and older have at least one dose, with 38% almost fully vaccinated. So
Those are great numbers.
those are great
Yeah.
numbers. And you know what we're seeing, Marcia? I don't know if you watched any of the shows out there, but we're seeing some great coverage on the media in terms of the surge in bookings, positive stories, travel rebounding, and positive news, which always helps consumer confidence. I think that's really great.
Absolutely.
And then we've even had some coverage on today's show. Our good friend Michelle Fee from Cruise Planners was on talking about this very fact. Michelle is an icon of the industry and one of my good friends and favorite people in this industry. And she was talking about just how they're seeing that renewed interest and focus, especially on 22, but even later this year. People want to cruise. And as I've said before, we're very lucky to work for an industry that is selling a product that people want so badly. No matter what happens over this past year, we could have easily lost all that interest. We haven't. That interest is still there. So it's wonderful news. And listen, hopefully the time is soon that we're all able to get back out there. I cannot wait to smell that fresh air on the ocean and hear the waves and see that sunset or those rainbows.
Again.
Oh, can't wait. Can't wait. Okay, with that, we're going to try to answer as many questions as you can. We show the Karnak for those of you old enough to remember Johnny Carson, because he would kind of predict the future in a humorous way. But a lot of the questions you're asking us are great, straightforward questions. So there's not a lot of prediction that goes into it. But in some cases, we do have to do our very best to make some assumptions because we don't have all the answers. So just want to warn you with that. So let's jump in. Let's start the Q&A. Okay, when will the Americas for 2022-2023 program be open for sale? So right now, I think, Marcia, we're looking middle-ish of April. So we got
Correct.
about a month to go when those sailings will be offered. Is that correct?
It is correct. Coming soon. Just a couple more weeks to wait.
Oh my gosh, I think I got that question correct. Okay. Will Princess require guests to be vaccinated prior to sailing? Yeah, this is a hot topic. And we've seen, I think Virgin made the announcement about their vaccinations. I think NCL did for crew. We have still not made a determination on this. We are still monitoring various situations around the world and all the countries that not only we sail in, but where we have our amazing crew come from. Because if we were to say tomorrow, okay, all crew will have to be vaccinated, well, our crew don't exactly fall into the demographic zone of those eligible to get the vaccine. So how do we administer that? How do we source enough supply when countries themselves are struggling? And so it's very complex. And just know that we are monitoring this every day. And if we have news to share on that, we will. But I have to say this, whether we require it or not, it's looking like most people will have it, at least out of the US in the very near term, especially in our demographic sweet spot.
Right.
Okay. Do you have Princess flyers that we can post on our Facebook page to promote cruising? Yes, we do. If you go to onesourcecruises.com, we have a whole library of marketing materials, and we're actually working on enhancing some of the social media assets that aren't just visuals, maybe some other videos and stuff that'll be easy for you to share. Joe, who works on my team, he is behind the scenes. He's been very lazy over the last several weeks. I've been asking about this every week, and he has failed to respond and deliver even more assets, because even though we have some great stuff, I want even more. And he doesn't listen to me.
I gotta defend Joe.
What?
John, he works really hard. Really hard.
I don't know why he has to sleep. That's my question. I don't understand why he can't just work 24/7. That's my greatest disappointment in Joe, because he's only working about 20 hours a day. Okay, Joe's a good guy. I'm kidding. When will Princess start to cruise again? Well, listen, we hopefully very soon, as we have this kind of, we're on the limbo state, in the limbo state of waiting for the CDC to give these technical instructions. The fact we don't have those means we've had to cancel this cruises basically through the end of June. So at this point, hopefully July, we're going to start doing some simulation cruises and get back in the water. But we have more to come on this, and so fingers crossed, some good news to share.
John, we had one question that came up, and it was about why we canceled cruises so early for round trip Seattle. Like, why did we cancel 2 months in advance? And we want to answer that because we don't want to cancel cruises. But when it becomes necessary and very clear to us that we would be unable to pull off all of the requirements by the CDC and then been able to have a successful cruise, then we have to make the call, right?
Yeah.
So
we're trying to be as realistic as possible and to give our guests, your clients, as much notice as possible. We don't want them holding out hope. If they can only travel in that time period, they have to make other arrangements. We want them to be able to do that. But clearly, we're hoping that those the interested folks will move into 22 for that sailing. But maybe later this year, they can take a shorter cruise or something else in addition, because Lord knows we've got some pent-up demand, which is great. So we're doing the best in our minds to give you the information. If we don't have confidence that it's going to sail, we want to let you know as soon as possible. All right.
Great.
Good point. If my client was booked originally on one of your 2020 Alaska cruises and they took the double deposit FCC, can they now request a refund?
That answer is yes. So, and then just to be clear about FCCs in general, if you have a future cruise credit from a pause, that's always actually refundable at any point. They can ask for a refund. The only caveat is that the bonus FCC would be lost, right? So we would refund the cash portion of the FCC, and then the bonus FCC would be canceled. We haven't sailed yet, but if we get into the situation where maybe someone has used the bonus, then we would deduct the bonus that was used from the refund amount, right? So it is always an option.
But that's for refunds. If you just want to cancel the booking and reclaim those FCCs, you don't lose any of that bonus. All that FCC just goes back in your FCC bank, right?
Correct.
Yeah. Okay, good question. If my client paid, sorry, my voice. If my client paid with an FCC on one of the most recently paused voyages, are they eligible for the bonus FCC option?
So we get this question a lot, and really basically the question is, if I pay with an FCC, can I get the bonus? Can I choose the FCC option again and get additional bonus? Unfortunately, the answer to that is no. So if you use future cruise credit and you had taken advantage of that bonus opportunity previously, then all of those future cruise credits go back to your bank and can be used again. Just make sure that you're using it within the expiration time frame.
Yep. Yeah, so there's not a bonus on top of the bonus, basically. You get it's a one-time bonus, think of it that way.
Yep.
But it always stays with you if for whatever reason we have to do a pause. It just goes back to, assuming you don't want to move the voyage into the next year, of course, then it just stays with you in that FCC bank. Okay. If my client's Europe voyage did not have a matching voyage to move to in 2022, can they book a similar voyage in 22 and get the price protection? Now, I wish the answer to this was yes, because it is complex, and to do these one-offs is not something we're able to support, but I would recommend that you take the FCC option, which should have a bonus attached. And if you've already had that bonus, then you've already earned it. So that's a good return on your investment. And you can find that other sailing. And even though the price protection may not be there, in some cases, the price could be lower. It really depends on the sailing you're looking for. But because you have that extra money in the bonus of the FCC, it should help offset any increases, if there are any. If you prepay your client's shore excursions with credits and cash, what do you get back? Cash only?
You actually get both back. So we have the ability for you to use like your onboard credits to pay for your shore excursions. So if you used a combination of onboard credits and cash, both go back. So the onboard credit goes back to your bank, and then the cash gets refunded like normal cash refunds work.
Right. Okay. If we book the Princess Air program, is air refundable? And I will say the answer to that is it depends.
It does
what kind
depend.
of air you purchased and the airline's policies, right?
Correct. Yep. So you have refundable, and then you have non-refundable air purchase options with us. So refundable is refundable. If you pick the non-refundable, then we're subject to whatever the airline regulations and rules are for that credit that you get. Most of the time, they're going to give you an airline credit. And they're also being, because of everything that's going on with the pandemic, they're being pretty flexible with not charging like change fees and that kind of thing. So depends on the airline.
Yeah. Is commission being protected on paid in full bookings if my client requests a refund? So the answer is yes, as long as it's done within 30 days of this pause announcement to when, essentially by when the new booking is created, if that's what you're trying to do. But if you're saying right now, my client wants a refund, which hopefully isn't what they're saying, then yes, you've got that 30-day window to make that announcement. Let us know, and we'll protect your commission. Is Princess starting to staff the ships in preparation for a return to cruising? So our ships have always had a bare minimum staff to kind of keep things going. And the thing about a ships is you gotta keep stuff working. You can't just go quiet, because it's not good when that happens, actually. And so we've had a minimum crew on board, and then where we know that we are the ships that are most likely to start based on the simulation voyages beginning and likelihood of return, then yeah, absolutely, we'll be staffing those up. We don't have any news to share on that. Hopefully I can share something soon, because I know there's a team behind the scenes that's working on this, and they won't tell me, because if I do, I'll tell you all here in this webinar, and then it's public. So they know me very well. But yes, let's just say there's a lot of work going on. If my client chooses the option to move to the comparable 2022 sailing, are taxes, fees, and port expenses protected?
Yes.
So yeah, it all shifts, right?
Yeah, it's a good question, because sometimes taxes, fees, and port expenses the next year could be different, right? Because it's all regulated by the ports. But we are protecting at the 2021 price when we move the booking for you for that one-time move. If something changes, it's our standard policy, because taxes, fees, and port expenses can change. If something changes, then there would be a notification sent out, and extra money would have to be collected. But we are protecting it for that initial move.
Great. Quick break. Oh yeah, just a reminder. So as we're still got more questions we're going to answer, but we are doing that second survey question in the comment section of on the Facebook side anyway, to see how we're doing here today. Are you learning more? Did you already come in as an expert, or did you have some questions and those questions have now been answered? So please take a second or two to answer that survey that is in the Facebook comment section. Okay, but more questions are coming. Don't worry. Can we sell a back-to-back cruise? So unfortunately, the restrictions of the CDC conditional sale order are limited to 7-day voyages only. As of right now, you cannot do back-to-back 7 days, because it's defeating the spirit, I guess, of what the CDC is trying to say in terms of limiting exposure and the risk of being on board a ship for too long. So, however, we don't have the technical instructions yet from the CDC in terms of our return to service. So we don't know whether that's going to be a different answer based on whether you have the vaccine or not, based on whether if you following certain protocols or get tested on that turnaround day, and as long as you're negative, you can take the second part of the cruise. More questions, I'm afraid, than we have answers. But as of right now, you cannot sell one. But it's maybe something, just if you want to sell that first one and then keep an eye on it, and then if you think, based on when the news comes out, if we're now allowing it based on the vaccination protocols or any other details we'll learn, you could always add it. So as of right now, the answer is unfortunately no. What about the rest of the round trip Alaska, Seattle voyages and Canada, New England? Will they sail? And so, yeah, so first of all, for Alaska, Seattle, we've only paused through the end of June, because we are holding out hope that we can have some voyages sail in July and later, right, for that amazing cruise. Canada, New England is not until the fall, and so we don't feel as pressured from a timing standpoint to make decisions right now. So we're kind of watching that, and we'll see what comes of it in terms of the legislation I mentioned earlier, the Alaska Tourism Recovery Act that's been introduced, and whether or not that comes to a vote, we'll have to see. But that is focused on Alaska, and so that actually that wouldn't cover the Canada, New England sailings as it's written right now. But again, Canada can change their policy. They could decide based on how their vaccination rollout is going that they could rescind that and change it as of a certain date. So that's why, because we have so much unknown, we're just going to wait and see. But for both of those, we are just holding out hope. why wasn't the 60-day final payment change extended to July cruises? Final payment for July is coming up in about 3 weeks. So just know that final payment is something that we are very well aware of in terms of the windows for voyages. And just like we made the change for May and June to shorten it, we'll keep an eye on this. And as we do have a few weeks to make that decision, we'll be letting you know if we decide to shorten that to 60 days. And so watch this space. It's a great question. Over the next week or so, I expect we'll have some news.
Yeah. And in the meantime, I mean, we know there's a lot of uncertainty about these bookings, but in the meantime, that's why we have our book with confidence. So hopefully someone can, with confidence, pay their final payment if they know absolutely they want to go, if we're going to be able to sail. I suggest they pay the final payment and then, wait to see what happens next. But they're not going to lose their money. It will be a future cruise credit if they decide to cancel later.
Yep. So you got both of those options to keep an eye on, just the timing of us shortening the window for final payment for anybody who's concerned. But if you pay now, that book with confidence program will protect you.
Right.
Okay, how is the Europe marking looking at this time? Well, I will say, although it's technically, I guess, no longer part of the EU, UK cruising is looking very positive. And based on their progression in terms of vaccine and their rollout, we have just put on sale just for UK residents. So I'm sorry, nobody living in the US or Canada can, even if you're a British passport holder and live here in North America, you don't technically apply because you have to be a resident of the UK. We're going to be, we've announced in those markets some very short sailings starting this summer, and then that will roll out to more traditional cruising. But they are ahead of the curve in terms of getting back in the water, which is awesome because those protocols and those standards and the lessons that they learn are very encouraging, right, for us to kind of follow on the heels of. The Europe on its own, in terms of Italy and France and Spain, et cetera, what's interesting about this is that as of right now, there's lockdowns going on in Italy as a good example. But at the same time, there are cruises happening in Italy, and they've been operating not only with our sister brand Costa, but with other brands over there, and they're doing a great job with it. And the number of cases that they've had as a percentage of the total people carried is very, very small. And they're learning to manage that on board, and they're learning to operate even in a lockdown environment. So more to see there. I know there's been a lot of news about the AstraZeneca vaccine and whether that's been the right approach, and is it been approved? And I heard today it's been approved by the EU's health group. I'm not sure the technical group name for them, but they've approved it as safe. And so hopefully that will take away some of the issues they've been having in the rollouts going on there. So more to come there. Okay, that is the last question. I'm not sure if any other questions came in the chat that we want to cover, Marcia.
There's a couple. Since we have
let's cover those before we share the survey results.
Okay, so Pam asked, what if the category that the guests are currently booked in is already sold out? And they've requested to be moved to 2022, what will happen when you rebook the cruise? So we'll rebook the closest category possible, and then give them the new booking information, and then let them make a choice on whether they'd like to keep that or change, or possibly move to one of those other voyages that might have other availability as well.
Yep.
And then Debbie says, does everything move over, air, insurance, packages, etc.? That answer is yes. So, and all monies paid moves over as well.
Makes it super easy.
Yep. Wanda asks, how many times can groups move? Hopefully we don't have to keep doing this, but if we are initiating it and saying that that there's a pause, we will continue to allow the groups to move. So, we don't have a limit on that.
Yeah.
I think we this is specific to med cruising in the fall. So basically, Janet is asking, do we have any insights into med cruising in the fall? And I've seen a couple questions too about the longer cruises. So, we stopped any voyages longer than 7 days up to November 1. So we're also getting questions about what about the longer cruises after November 1? Do we think that's going to get extended?
Well, the November 1 deadline is because of the CDC conditional sail order timeframe. That was their ruling. And so Unless they extend that, then in theory, that 7-day limit goes away and we shouldn't have a problem. If they extend it into later of 21 or even into 22, then we'll have to revisit the situation. But
Right.
we're in kind of this holding pattern because we just don't know.
Yep. And then fall, I mean, med cruising in the fall, I'd say is a good idea. I mean, we just don't know. There's so many things that are changing, but we think fall is a good time to book too. So book it and hold on. That's all we've got in the questions that
Okay.
we have so far. Yep.
Great questions. Let's look at the survey results if we can. Let's see how did we do. Okay, at the very beginning, 24% of you said you were an expert, so that's at least double the
That's
previous
really good.
surveys we've done, so that's good. 62% are know most everything. I think I fall into that category. Never say I'm an expert on this. 10% need some help, 4% still have too many questions. So after, let's see how we did. 58% are expert, 40% very good, so 98% are either very good or expert, 2% okay, 1% not a good use of time. Okay, I want to talk to those people. And I think they're my family members that just log into this thing and give me negative ratings because they're always sticking it to me.
Yep.
Well, I'm sorry if this wasn't a good use of time, but it looks like the vast majority thought it was useful and you consider yourself to be well informed. So listen, for those of you that submitted questions, this is something we've been doing over the last few weeks. If we are working with our sales team, so we've got a great team of national account managers, business development managers, those great folks are reaching out to you directly to make sure you got your question answered and to offer their help if it's still needed. So
Yep.
just because you maybe asked a question and didn't get it answered here today, or you have a slight nuance that's very specific to your booking, you can always go to chat and get the question answered immediately, but our BDMs are also reaching out to you to connect and make sure you got what you need.
Exactly.
Janice, thanks so much. Checks in the mail. Appreciate you saying nice things about us. Rich, thank you. Good webinar.
Thanks,
Appreciate
Rich.
that. And I think we broke a record in time. We're only 40-something minutes in.
I
So,
know.
Janet, thanks. Excellent use of your time. Well, listen, we appreciate it. And really, the connection is great because we're hearing from you. We learned so much from you based on how you're asking the questions. It helps us reframe our future documents and our FAQs and making sure we're covering these as best we can. So, Marcia, thank you as always. Great job.
Thanks,
Amazing
John.
co-hosting. Do we have any other slides? No, we don't. We don't need to jump to the slides. Thanks all so much for attending. Stay positive. Stay hanging in there. Like, we're going to get through this. I do feel that this positive trend of vaccination rollout, especially here in the U.S., is going to really help change a lot of things here. So with
Better
that,
days
thanks so
are
much.
coming. Better days are coming.
They sure are. All right. Bye, everyone. We'll see you soon. Take care.
Bye.